deepest parts of the ocean, there is a world that lies in darkness, but is full of light. There are many creatures that bring light to the deep, and even though some look like your worst nightmare, their nature is fascinating. Could their light be witchcraft or sorcery? Nope, it's bioluminescence. Let's dive into the extraordinary world of deep-sea creatures. The main question that I asked today is, what is the purpose of bioluminescence? Before I can answer that question, we have to understand what bioluminescence is and how it's produced. Bioluminescence is light that is created within an organism's body. The light is created through a chemical reaction between luciferin and luciferase. Luciferin produces the light, and the luciferase permits the luciferin chemical reaction to happen. The luciferase functions as a catalyst, and it allows the oxygen to amalgamate with the luciferin. This creates photons of light, and the oxidized luciferin becomes inactive oxyluciferin. The emission of this light can be voluntary or involuntary, depending really on the different functions and species. Why is bioluminescence important? The most famous and accessible bioluminescent organism on the surface of the Earth is the firefly. They have been extremely helpful in cancer research. As of recently, bioluminescent emissions have been used to locate cancer cells, and even in some instances, killed cancer cells. It does so by charging its light onto the tumors and then attacking them in the lining of organs and close to the skin. Okay, so side note. We shouldn't confuse bioluminescence with fluorescence and phosphorescence. Fluorescence is not a chemical reaction. It absorbs vitalizing light and re-emits it. It is only apparent in the appearance of stimulating light, for example, UV light. An example of something fluorescent is a highlighter. However, phosphorescence, even though comparable to fluorescence, re-emits the light for prolonged periods of time. For example, a Kuchikopi nightlight or glow-in-the-dark stickers are both phosphorescent. At times, it could be used by Homo sapiens for enjoyment and entertainment, or even attracting a mate with their light shows by using glow sticks, makeup, clothing, and dancing. Okay, so back to bioluminescence. On the color spectra, bioluminescent emissions have divulged all the colors of the rainbow. However, in the ocean, most of it seems blue because blue is the wavelength that travels farthest through seawater. There are also 5 different layers of the ocean, which are called oceanic zones. So the 5 oceanic zones are epipelagic, mesopelagic, bathypelagic, abyssopelagic, and hadopelagic. Starting off with the epipelagic zone, also known as the sunlight zone, we can see that it begins in the surface and goes down to 656 feet, and pressure here is minimal. Coral reefs are found in this zone, and therefore photosynthesis occurs. There are other man-made activities such as fishing and sea transport in this zone. So moving on to the second zone, the mesopelagic zone, also known as the twilight zone. Here, we begin at 656 feet and we go down to 3,281 feet, and pressure has increased in this zone. In this zone, faint sunlight is permeable here, and you can find animals such as swordfish, eels, jellyfish, squid. On to the bathypelagic zone, or the midnight zone. This is the area where most of the creatures we'll be discussing about today live. This zone begins at 3,281 feet deep and ends at approximately 12,124 feet. The pressure has increased quite a bit at 5,858 psi. That's a lot of pressure. There is no sunlight at this zone. However, our bioluminescent creatures create their own visible light. Most animals here are black and red because of low sunlight penetration. Some sperm whales even dive deep into this zone to find food. Now we're in the abyssopelagic zone, or the abyss. This zone starts at 13,126 feet deep and goes all the way down to 19,686 feet. The pressure here starts at 2,939 psi and goes all the way to 8,871 psi. Temperatures in this zone are just above freezing, and invertebrate animals such as sea stars and squid live here. And now, for the deepest and darkest part of the ocean, the hadopelagic zone, or the trenches. The depth here starts at 19,686 feet and goes down to a whopping 36,100 feet. That's almost 7 miles deep into the ocean. The pressure down here is at 16,000 or more psi. That's the weight of the Eiffel Tower on your toe. Natural light does not penetrate in this zone, and the temperatures here are consistently at 39 degrees Fahrenheit, which is just above freezing. Surprisingly enough, there were fish discovered in the trenches of Puerto Rico at 27,460 feet deep. Most of the animals that live down here are invertebrate or crustaceans. Alrighty, so on to the fun stuff. Who uses bioluminescence, and what is it used for? It can be used by bacteria, algae, jellyfish, worms, crustaceans, sea stars, fish, shark, and many other organisms. And of course, depending on the creature, the purpose may vary. There are 3 main purposes of bioluminescence: tracking down food, defending against predators, and attracting a mate. And of course, there might be some species that have bioluminescence and don't need it, but possess the ability anyways. So this is another side note. You may be wondering what these creatures in the bathypelagic zones and below eat. They feed on marine snow. Marine snow is organic matter that falls, or snows, from the higher zones into the deep zones. Deep sea creatures aren't very active as they try to conserve their energy to find larger prey and not just consume marine snow. Now, let's go ahead and explore some of the different species that use bioluminescence in different forms. So let's start off with the dinoflagellates that are usually algae. These single-celled creatures are the most observed bioluminescent creatures and use their light to protect themselves. They live on the surface of the ocean, so the highest point of the epipelagic zone. During the day, they look like red or green smoke in the ocean, but at night, they shine like the night sky. They only illuminate when they're disturbed by crashing waves or coming in contact with scavengers. Dinoflagellates have a different way of luminescing by using organelles called scintillons. These are tightly packed vessels, and in the absence of light, they're ample in the perimeter of the cell. They use their bioluminescence to ward off predators, but they also lure large predators that are not predators to the dinoflagellates to fight off the creatures that see them as prey. There are also counter-illuminators like the firefly squid that are located in the mesopelagic zone. Counter-illumination is used by creatures to camouflage. They illuminate the underside of their body to match the sea surface from above to camouflage against the predators that are below them. Another creature that uses bioluminescence as protection is the lantern or flashlight fish. These fish are also found in the mesopelagic zone. They have bioluminescent organs right below their eye that has luminous bacteria. It can be shut off and on by the fish using a few different mechanisms, but the most common one is dark eyelids or retrieving into a pouch. The purpose of these lights are to confuse predators of their location or scare them off, and other times it can be to attract prey. For the most famous deep-sea creature for attracting its prey is the purpose of its bioluminescent barbel. We all know who it is. There's no introduction needed for the anglerfish. Making its presence known in mainstream media, and its most noteworthy performance is in Finding Nemo. The anglerfish is best known for attracting its prey with bioluminescence. They are mostly located in the bathypelagic zone, and there are over 200 species in all shapes and sizes. Their bioluminescence comes from a photophore, which is the barbel that extends from their dorsal fin. They use their barbel like a fisherman would. They cast it far in front of their mouth and wave it back and forth to attract prey. It's almost like a hypnotizing technique. Another fish that uses its photophore to attract prey is the dragonfish. The dragonfish is also located in the bathypelagic zone. It also has a bioluminescent barbel that swings back and forth, turns on and off to attract its potential prey. When the unsuspecting prey comes close, it snaps it up with its large teeth. Lastly, we have a creature that uses bioluminescence to attract mates. The male Umihotaru ostracod is located in Japan in the epipelagic zone. Even though both female and male ostracods can luminesce, the male provides complex illuminating signals to court his mate. I also wanted to make a notable mention about a crustacean that I found petrifying but also fascinating. It was discovered in the hadopelagic zone. Its name is Eurythinus plasticus. If you thought the Plasticus part was named after plastic, you're correct. This species of amphipod was unfortunately discovered to have plastic in its stomach. Even down in the trenches, in the deepest parts of the ocean, we have discovered plastic. I hope this species could alter the way we feel about our use of plastic and what we can do about it so we don't find plastic on every part of the earth. Even though this species doesn't have bioluminescence, I thought it was worth the mention. Now, of course, there are still many unknowns about the deep sea, as more people have gone into space than dived into the deepest parts of the ocean. As of now, the deepest part of the ocean is the Challenger Deep. It's 36,201 feet deep, making it deeper than how tall Mount Everest is. It was first explored by Jacques Piccard and John Walsh on the USS Triste in 1960. Then director James Cameron dove in 2012, and lastly Victor Vescovo in 2019. First and foremost, there are many species to be discovered. And as said by Victor Vescovo,
so every single dive we have gone on, even though we're only down there for a couple of hours, we have found 3 or 4 new species, because these are places that have been isolated for billions of years, and no human being has ever been down there to film them or take samples.
And sequentially, the next component that needs exploring is all the species that exist in the deep and how their ecosystems function. There are so many questions that need to be answered, but that only means that there are more exciting things to be discovered. Anyways, thank you so much for tuning in and learning more about bioluminescence. I really hope you enjoyed. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you have a great rest of your summer. Alright, bye!